You know, there's this AI tool out there right now that 10 million people are using every single week. But here's the crazy part. Most people who have heard of it, or even the ones who use it casually, they still don't fully understand what it actually does.
And that is exactly what we're fixing today on The Engineering Why. Welcome to our ultimate explainer. We are going straight into mastering NotebookLM. We're going to break down why it exists, how every major feature works under the hood, and crucially, how to chain those features together into a workflow that produces results literally no other AI tool can match. Let's get right into it.
So, we've got to start with the big why here. 10 million weekly users. We're not talking about ChatGPT, we're not talking about Claude, yet the adoption is massive. We're looking at 250,000 teachers, 800,000 students, and over 28% of the Fortune 500 companies have integrated it. So why are so many people flocking to a tool they don't entirely understand?
Well, to answer that, we really have to look at the fundamental problem NotebookLM was actually built to solve. The reason people are rushing to it is that it tackles a massive pain point that standard AI just completely fails at when you're doing serious professional-level document work.
Okay, but how does it tackle that? Like, what is the actual practical difference between NotebookLM and something like ChatGPT?
It really all comes down to the trade-off between breadth and depth. Think about general AI models. They're trained on the entire internet, right? So their value is breadth. They know a little bit about everything. But that creates a huge risk, hallucinations. When they don't actually know an answer, they guess based on statistical patterns. And hey, that's totally fine for drafting a casual email. But if you're analyzing a complex legal contract or you're studying for a massive medical exam, guessing is just unacceptable. NotebookLM flips the entire script. Its value is depth. It doesn't even try to know everything. In fact, it literally only knows what you give it.
Okay, that makes sense in theory, for sure. But how should we actually think about this when choosing which tool to open up in our day-to-day workflow? Give me a clearer distinction.
Yeah, let's use an analogy because this brilliantly illustrates the difference. Think of ChatGPT as a highly educated, really chatty colleague. You know, they've read an enormous amount and you can catch them in the hallway, ask a question, and they'll give you a pretty great answer right off the top of their head. But occasionally their memory is just slightly off. Now, NotebookLM? That is your meticulous research assistant. They will only tell you what is explicitly written in the stack of documents you just handed them. You wouldn't ask your meticulous research assistant a random trivia question, and you definitely wouldn't ask your chatty colleague to give you page reference citations for a 100-page contract from memory.
Oh, that meticulous assistant analogy is absolutely perfect. So how does this assistant actually work behind the scenes to guarantee that level of accuracy? The engineering mechanism here is called source grounding. So when you drop in a PDF or a YouTube video or a website, the tool processes the entire content and builds this really deep, searchable knowledge structure. When you ask a question, it only searches those specific sources, and it generates an answer with clickable footnotes. Every single claim traces back to the exact passage in your original document. If it's not in the text, NotebookLM will flat out tell you it can't find it. It won't make something up.
Section 1. The interface. Transforming a messy pile of documents into highly organized outputs. All right, I am completely sold on the meticulous assistant. But how do we actually use this thing in practice? What does the day-to-day workflow look like? The whole value proposition is basically taking a messy pile of raw documents and transforming them into highly organized outputs. And NotebookLM does this using a really slick 3-panel workspace. On the left, you've got your sources panel. This is your library. You can click any document and read it right there. In the center, that's your chat panel, your structured research conversation where you ask questions and get those grounded, cited answers. And then on the right, you have the studio panel. That's your production workspace where you generate your final outputs. So you can literally read, chat, and build outputs all at the same time without ever switching tabs.
Yeah, I can totally see how that stops you from getting lost in the chaotic sea of browser tabs. Walk me through a real-world example, though. How are professionals actually utilizing this 3-panel setup?
Let's look at contract analysis. Say a business professional or a lawyer drops a massive, dense, 50-page vendor contract straight into that left panel. Then in the center panel, they ask, what are the specific termination clauses and liabilities? NotebookLM fires back an answer, citing exactly page 12 and page 41. The pro can click that citation, verify it immediately in the left panel, and then they instantly move over to the right panel, the studio, and click Briefing Document. In seconds, that messy, complicated contract is transformed into a clean, highly structured internal report for their team, totally grounded in the source text. It is just a massive productivity multiplier.
Section 2. Supercharging research. Expanding your sources with deep research and mind maps.
Now that 3-panel workspace is incredibly efficient if you already have the document sitting on your hard drive. But what if you're starting a project totally from scratch? How is this deep research feature actually different from just doing a standard web search for my topic?
Oh, it is fundamentally different. Think about it. When you run a standard search, you just get a ranked list of links, right? And then you have to open them, read them, evaluate them one by one. When you activate deep research in NotebookLM, the AI analyzes your underlying question. It goes out and scours the web, actually reads the sources for you, assesses them for relevance, and then curates the absolute best ones directly into your left-hand sources panel. It's doing all the heavy lifting of gathering and processing the data, so those new sources are instantly ready for you to chat with and pull into your outputs.
Wow, okay, so now my meticulous assistant has gone out and fetched, say, a dozen new, highly relevant documents. How do I even begin to make sense of all this new information without reading it cover to cover? This is exactly where mind maps come in, and I've got to say it's the feature that surprises people the absolute most. It doesn't just give you a list of your documents. It reveals the hidden conceptual structure across all of them. So say you have 12 completely independent papers. The mind map visually connects overlapping ideas, it spots contradictions between different authors, and it even reveals themes that none of the authors explicitly stated. It basically creates this interactive visual navigation layer for your entire knowledge base.
So how do we tie those two things together, deep research and mind maps? By chaining them. This is exactly how you build a professional research output pipeline. Step 1, you run deep research to gather up those comprehensive, high-quality sources. Step 2, before you even ask a single question, you generate a mind map. You look at that map to orient yourself. And then step 3, you use the visual clusters on that map to target your specific inquiries in the chat panel. You're no longer just guessing what to ask. The mind map is literally showing you where the most dense, overlapping themes are hiding.
Section 3. The Power User Secret. Custom Instructions.
Okay, so we've got our sources mapped out. We're asking targeted questions in the chat. How do we get even better, more specific answers out of the tool? Does customizing the instructions really make that big of a difference? It is literally a night and day difference. You get 10,000 characters to tell NotebookLM exactly who you are and what you need. Let's look at how a student uses this versus a professional. A university student can write, "I am revising for a biology exam. Cover major concepts using clear memory hooks and easy analogies, and quiz me at the end of every response." Suddenly, the chat becomes a highly personalized tutor. On the flip side, a professional can write, "I'm preparing client deliverables. Skip all the academic language. Lead with actionable insights and format every single response as bullet points." You write this instruction once, and it drastically improves the depth and the accuracy of every single interaction in that workspace.
Section 4, the studio. Taking insights off the screen and into the real world.
That level of customization is just incredible. So we've interacted with our data, we've got our insights. How do we get this research off the screen and turn it into actual, finished products we can share? I know there are a bunch of options in the studio panel, but there's one that seems to have completely broken the internet.
Oh, absolutely. And the statistic on this is just staggering. 72% of all NotebookLM sessions now use audio overviews. This single feature basically doubled their user base. It takes your dense, dry uploaded documents and transforms them into a highly engaging two-host audio discussion. It's essentially a custom audio show about your data. Think about it. You can't read a 40-page research paper while commuting or at the gym, but you can absolutely listen to a 15-minute audio overview. It unlocks dead time and literally turns it into learning time.
Audio is fantastic, but what if I need something visual? What if I'm presenting this to my team or a larger audience? That brings us to their most ambitious feature yet, cinematic video overviews. And listen, this isn't just slapping text on a screen. NotebookLM uses 3 different AI models working together to act as a creative director, a visual generator, and a video producer. It turns your research papers or internal reports into shareable, narrative-led, animated documentaries. This unlocks an entire category of output that previously required days of work from a professional creative team, and it literally does it in minutes.
Section 5, the Master Playbook. Chaining the complete research workflow.
We've covered a massive amount of capability here today. Audio overviews, deep research, mind maps, custom instructions. How do we pull all of these incredible features together into one master process from start to finish? Right, let's put it all together into the master playbook. Because the most powerful way to use NotebookLM is not using these features in isolation, but chaining them together. Here is the 5-step chained pipeline. Step 1, intention. Define your goal clearly using your custom instructions. Step 2, curation. Upload your specific documents and run deep research to fill in any gaps. Step 3, orientation. Generate a mind map to visualize the connections across this brand new knowledge base. Step 4, inquiry. Use the chat panel to interrogate the data, moving from broad themes down to the specific details. And finally, Step 5, output. Move to the studio panel to generate your briefing document, your audio overview, or your cinematic video.
Looking at that pipeline, it's just so remarkably structured compared to just randomly chatting with an AI.
And that right there is the crucial point. The reason this step-by-step chaining works so flawlessly is because every single output traces back to the exact same grounded sources. The mind map, the chat answers, the cinematic video, they are all perfectly aligned because they're built on that shared, verifiable source foundation. Literally nothing is hallucinated.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, give me the final verdict. When should someone open ChatGPT or Claude, and when should they open NotebookLM? It's the perfect complementary balance. Use general AI for broad exploration, brainstorming, and when you just need real-time web knowledge without caring about specific sources. But when you need deep engagement with specific material, when accuracy actually matters, when you need verifiable citations, and when you want to transform a messy pile of documents into highly organized outputs, NotebookLM is absolutely the best tool available today.
That makes the distinction crystal clear. NotebookLM is the meticulous assistant we all need in our workflow.
Exactly. And now we really want to hear from you. The community is where the absolute best workflows are discovered. So drop a comment below right now. What is your NotebookLM use case? How are you using it for study, for work, or research? Or hey, if you're completely new to this, what is the very first notebook you're going to build?
Yeah, share your ideas down in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to The Engineering Why for more deep dives into the tools that are genuinely changing how we work. We'll see you in the next explainer.